Yeah.
Where'd it go? Oh shit.
We're here at National Trail Raceway in Hebron, Ohio, and behind me is the all-new Mustang Mach-E GT Performance Edition. Ford makes some pretty bold claims about its electric pony, and we're here to independently validate those claims, and hopefully have a little bit of fun too.
Today's theatrics are brought to you courtesy of this guy, Rick Reichert, seen here driving that dark gray matter Mach-E I was just standing next to. Rick and his family runs Reichert Automotive and rented out the drag strip for one night as a thank you to his employees and their families. They were welcome to let loose and go flat out in whatever vehicles they wanted to bring. Those ranged from bikes to trucks, and from the absolutely deafening to the, well, us. Rick kindly invited us to partake and run our own tests using his personal Mach-E GT in Performance Edition spec. Of course we accepted, and even offered Rick a turn behind the wheel. Are we generous or what? Okay, some things to know when getting silly with an EV on the tarmac. Electric cars perform differently than gas-powered cars at the track. In a conventional vehicle, you really want as little fuel as possible on board to keep the weight down. In an EV, you want the most charge you can get. As the charge depletes in the battery, performance starts to suffer. Some automakers even quote their projected 0 to 60 times based on an 80% state of charge or higher. That gets to our main question: how much does the Mach-E lose as the pack depletes? We're going to attempt to answer that for you with science. You know, numbers and stuff.
Because we're at a drag strip, we have the drag strip's timing lights keeping track of all of our runs. But in order to keep driver error out of the equation, we also have a GPS data logger that we'll be using to track each pass down the strip. We'll be doing multiple passes throughout the evening to see how much the performance degrades as the battery pack depletes in the car.
As you may already know or have learned from our first drive video when I got a chance to autocross the GT, click the link up there to watch that. This version of the Mach-E features a unique setting called Unbridled Extend. This helps the car maintain performance over repeated use in an autocross or track situation. But Unbridled Extend also disables the 5-second overboost function that the car has built in, which could compromise it on the drag strip. After speaking with engineers during our time with the EV in California, we were told the best way to run at the drag strip is to just put the car into engage mode and mash the go pedal. We're going to want that extra performance from the boost. In case you're wondering, and of course you are, Ford claims a 3.5 second 0 to 60 time, calculated by deleting the first foot of rollout. We don't normally do it that way at EV Pulse, but the drag strip does, so we're keeping it consistent and ignoring the first 12 inches as well. Alright, enough jibber jabber. Let's get down to it, because the sun's already getting low on the horizon. We're going to take this thing for as many runs as we can before they kick us out.
I'm now approaching the staging line for my first run here at National Trail Dragway. As I approach the staging line, I'd like to point out that we're at an 88% state of charge. And go! Woohoo! It's a 0 to 60 in 3.69 seconds. A 7.82 eighth of a mile. And a 12.49 quarter mile at what looked like 102 miles an hour. We'll have to confirm the actual slip when we get back up, but woo, that was quick. So 88% state of charge. The 0 to 60 was 3.69 seconds, 7.82 in the eighth, 12.49 in the quarter. We'll check with the time slip from what we get up here to see what my probably poor reaction time was. Also, that was with an 88% state of charge. It looks like I only used a 1% state of charge to make that trip down. Hello. Hello. Thank you.
Welcome.
And officially, my reaction time was a 0.57, 60 foot 1.855, 330 at 5.08. The eighth of mile 7.82 seconds, which matches identical to the GPS meter. Miles per hour was 87.88. My elapsed time was 14.496, which matches the GPS at a speed of 101.67. So I've learned two things from this. One, this car is pretty quick. And 2, my GPS data logger is actually pretty accurate.
The elephant in the room here is that 0 to 60 in 3.69 seconds is nearly 2/10 off from Ford's 3.5 claim. But that could be due to any number of factors, including the fact we weren't starting with a topped-off battery. More interesting will be to see how quickly that performance fades as the charge declines. With a baseline established, it's time to give Mr. Reichert some seat time. Oh, he's the one who chose 427 for the car number, by the way, in honor of the V8 that breathed life into Ford's winning GT40s at Le Mans in '66. Heard of it? He's pitting his Mach-E against a track-ready Dyno Juice Mustang.
$12.46 at 102.
Holy shit! When they're side by side the whole way.
That's awesome.
Hey, I think they're impressed. Okay, time to get back in line for another go or two.
We're losing the lights.
This might throw off our numbers a little, but I can't resist an experiment within an experiment. Remember how the Ford engineers said to leave the GT in engage mode?
What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to put it into Unbridled Extend and see what the performance difference is like when you lose the boost function, but gain the repeatability that Unbridled Extend offers. Well, I jumped to start. So the car feels noticeably slower. The GPS logger is set, I did a 0 to 60 in 4.7 seconds, which is definitely the slowest run of the day. I'm at about an 80% state of charge. It's also reporting that I did a 13.35 quarter mile. We'll have to verify that with the lights, but I did jump to start on that one. Whoopsie! But it definitely is noticeable that you don't have the boost function, because you feel that boost right at launch. You almost feel some torque steer right at launch, and you don't feel that when it's in Unbridled Extend, at least in the state of charge after the multiple runs that we've been doing.
As we continue run after run of the Mach-E, its performance is basically unwavering, and it's maybe a little harder to run down the battery than we would have guessed. After all, we're consistently exceeding 100 miles an hour. That's hardly hypermiling.
All right, so we're staging for our final run of the night. If it looks like it's really dark outside, that's because it is. We're gonna approach the staging line. We've got 71% state of charge. So what's really interesting about the performance all night has been it launches pretty well, and then the front tires will almost chirp after you're already launched. Like it's getting a little bit of extra power sort of later. Maybe that's where the boost is kicking in and not right at launch. But it almost feels like you've hit like a nitrous button or something where the front axle just starts to spin just a little bit more. Time-wise, end of the night, 3.96, 8.07 in the eighth, a 12.85 in the quarter. So it has been fairly consistent, not only in each run matching the lap timers and all of that, but it's also been consistent with battery degradation. As the battery depletes, the performance drops. What is surprising is it's not depleting that fast at all. So we finished that run with a 70% state of charge. We've gone through about 20% of state of charge through the various runs. It's still a quick car, it's still a consistent car, and even below that sort of like 80% that a lot of manufacturers tout, it's still doing pretty well.
Let's review, shall we? Here's how the numbers shook out over the course of the night. Looking at the Mach-E GT's state of charge over the 12 runs we got in, it's a fairly linear decline, starting at 88% and ending up at 70%, not quite a 20% loss. Adding in our 0 to 60 times, our first run of the night was the fastest, as we all expected, clocking in at 3.69 seconds. On our way to 70% state of charge, the number creeped up, of course, but it remained strikingly consistent, almost entirely staying below the 4-second mark and ending up at 3.96. Finally, if we look at our quarter mile times, they range from a low of 12.49 seconds to 12.85 as we closed out the track, a difference of about 0.35 seconds. A note on anomalies: for runs 2 and 5, we turned on Unbridled Extend. The engineers were right, of course, and we accrued nearly a full second penalty in our sprint to 60. Also, on my 9th run, I turned off the AC, but that was mostly because I wanted to smoke Rick in his Ford GT, and well, mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned.
Overall, we were very impressed with the performance of the Mach-E GT at the drag strip. We had many runs with not much time between those runs, and the car stayed consistent without needing to cool down. Over the course of our runs, we lost approximately 18% state of charge, which equated to roughly 0.4 of a second in the quarter mile. That's still very consistent and better than what we expected, and compared to some other EVs out there that lose performance when the charge drops, we're pleased to see how well the Mach-E did.
Special thanks again to Rick Reichert for loaning us his Mach-E GT performance. You can find a link to his Instagram in the description below. If you enjoy videos like this, please subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell so you can watch our latest content the minute it goes live. Also, visit us over at evpulse.com for more news, reviews, and how-tos. Thanks for watching.